One of the best ways to communicate your ideas is through slides. Slides can really help drive your point home, make your content memorable for your audience, and help you clarify points. But we need to make our slides helpful for our audience. So we're going to talk about 5 best practices for the slides you make to share with your audience. Make sure that you put your story before your slide design. It's important to think about, what does my audience need? How can I best provide that information to them? And create your content. Then and only then, consider your slides. By doing this, you avoid your slides becoming teleprompters for you. Because if you design them based on a story that's for your audience, the slides naturally will be designed for them. And it allows you to avoid what I call creating a Franken deck. That's a series of slides that you just grab and borrow and steal and put together. Those are never authentic. So by putting story first, you help your audience and yourself get your information across. The second best practice has to do with putting less information rather than more. The temptation is to put everything you want to say on a slide, when in fact, that gets in the way of your audience actually understanding. It can be distracting. Here's an example of a slide that has way too much information on it. There are lots of words, there are data points, there's distracting images. It's hard to understand what you're supposed to take away from this slide. By focusing on the critical few, you can make a big impact. Look here at this version of the slide. It's very clear what's important. Again, less is more. I encourage you to ask yourself for every slide, what is the least amount of information I can put on this slide to convey my point? If you do that, you'll help your audience understand what it is you're trying to get across. The third best practice has to do with focusing on making your slides more visual. Who hasn't seen a slide that looks like this? It's an eye chart. So many words on this slide. It's very, very distracting. In fact, neuroscience tells us that when we process information, all verbal information is processed in one way, in one general area in the brain. By speaking words and putting so many words up on the screen, you're actually working against yourself because your audience can't process all those words at the same time. Rather, it's much better to use some visuals that enhance and augment what it is you're trying to say. So when possible, visual over verbal. As you see here in this version of the slide, there's still words, but they're far fewer, and the images reinforce the words that you're saying. Another point is, this slide with the images and the words means that I'm valuable. My audience needs me. When it's just a series of text and words, I'm not needed. The audience could read it. So make yourself valuable. Use visuals to help your audience. The fourth best practice has to do with how you show your information. We want to make sure to reveal information as we need that information to be understood by our audience. Too often, people put up slides that have everything all at once, as I just did. You see an image, you see words. The audience doesn't know what to pay attention to. And in fact, when you show them a slide like this right up front, they're distracted. They're not listening to anything you say. Far better to build the information. So for example, I might orient you, as I'm doing here. And then as I talk about my first point, I bring that point in. When I go to my next point, I reveal that as well. By building the information as you go, you keep your audience focused and you keep them oriented to the point you're trying to make. The final best practice has to do with how quickly your audience can understand what you're showing them. Quick impact is key. When the audience sees your slide, they need to understand the key point right away. Otherwise, they get lost and distracted. Here's a great example of a slide that takes a long time to figure out what's going on. There's a chart here. It's hard to distinguish between the elements. There's some very distracting circles with colors on the side. The gradations of the numbers, it's very hard to tell. How does it feel when you see the same point made in this slide? The quick impact is clear. This slide very quickly tells you the takeaway. So when you are designing your slides, when it's all designed, look at it quickly and say, do I get what I'm trying to say? Better yet, ask others to look at the slide and tell you what it is they're taking away. Taken together, these 5 best practices will help make your slides useful for your audience. They'll get your information quicker, and they'll understand it better, and finally, and ultimately, they'll remember it more.